One of the things.
Okay. Okay. Sen Elias. Is that correct?
Hello, hello.
Am I saying your name
Yes.
right? Okay, because
Yeah.
I wanted to make I even went to like YouTube and I'm like, let me make sure I'm saying this man's name right because I don't want to mess your name up. So Sen Elias of Crescent City Conjure, right? In New
Yeah.
Orleans, which holds a very special magical place. It's I don't know. It's like everybody who has been to New Orleans always say that the energy and the magic there is undeniable and unbelievable. So first, what made you want to get into magic?
I don't see it as something that I got into. I see it as something that um, uh, I think some people do get into it, and I think that other people have to find it in order to live a semblance of a normal life. Meaning that as a young boy, I was experiencing things that I don't hear of very
Mhm.
commonly, and so I context to understand those things. I mean, of course, I originally started looking for that in the structure of religion. So my family is Baptist Christian, but um, I looked for it at mosque. I would go to mosque. I would go to other places. I went to a Hindu temple as a boy to see what am I looking for? What is this thing? The closest in my family that came to it is my grandmother. She's not very religious. She's much more spiritual. So she had a lot of lessons for me about having extremely vivid dreams, being able to know things before they happen, being able to pray true, as they would say. So my whole existence fit.
No! Oh no! Just when it was starting to get good because I was starting to learn oh, Alice, let me see if you're popping back in here. See, this is the things that I was like, yeah, I wanted to make sure it doesn't too. But it was just starting to get good because I'm like, wow, you really tried different avenues and different religions, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was, because I didn't, oh, the only person in my family that was talking about anything spiritual was my grandmother. The rest of my family was very much speaking about religion, and religion just didn't make sense to me because they were talking about having all these spiritual experiences after death, speaking to angels and spirits after death, and I was speaking to them while I was living. And so my question really was, well, how do I deal with this if I'm, having visions, if I'm hearing voices, and I don't believe that I'm crazy, but
Right.
those are the ancestors or the spirits that you walk with, and so you know, I I had to find my way into a spiritual practice that was active, an active spiritual practice with spirit and with energy around me, and not something that was inactive like mainstream religion.
So, would you consider yourself maybe clairvoyant, empath, um, any of those things, like an empath or clairvoyant or psychic or anything like that?
I'm sorry, it's hard for me. I don't know because it's breaking up a little bit.
Okay, so that is not good. Let me see something. If I could turn my volume up so you can hear me. Okay, so can you hear me now? Am I good?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Um, I'm moving with my Yeti closer. Yeti. All right. So now you should be able to hear me real good because it's right next to me now. So would you consider yourself like an empath or clairvoyant or psychic or anything like that? Or just you're just a regular degular spiritual male?
I with the words psychic or empath. Although, yeah, I do believe that what I'm doing is relates to what they do. But I think it's a different avenue I think it's a different avenue that does the same thing. I don't know what I would name it. I don't know if it has a name, so I don't try. I speak to my ancestors. I connect with other people's ancestors, and then they have a conversation. I take that information and share it with people. To me, that's not necessarily psychism. I wouldn't. I haven't spoken to psychics to ask them where they are getting the information from. Maybe they'll say their ancestors as well, but I just don't hear people speaking about talking to their ancestors to gain direct communication in the way that I do when I do my readings. I don't. I mean, when I think about psychic, and I hate to say this, but it's true. I always think of the head wrap and the crystal and the
If you
on the
say, if you say, call me now, me done. Because we
yeah
all gonna
bag
feel.
back.
Because she
But the
was
thing
not
is,
Jamaican. She
but
was a Yankee American.
she was American, but also she was an E5 priestess. She was actually initiated into a tradition. So if yes, she was literally actually I believe she was either a voodoo priestess or an E5 priestess. But I watched a documentary on her, and she was psychic. So if we're going back to it, do I identify as a psychic or not? I have my hand of E5, so there's a similarity there. Maybe I am psychic. I don't know. I don't try to quantify it. I just know how it works and I work it.
Okay. So what is Alexandria witchcraft? I've never heard of this.
So it's Alexandrian witchcraft, and it's the child of Gardnerian witchcraft, and it's one tradition that I'm initiated into, but it's Western occultism, and it's witchcraft. So a lot of what I have strong opinions about this, and this is probably going to make some people upset. But
So is this in the category of Wicca
not
or
really
different? Oh, okay. I'm
different.
learning something
Um,
new.
the word Wicca means witchcraft, right? And so before Wicca came to America, it was called before it came to America it was called Wicca, but it meant witchcraft. It was you were practicing the religion of witchcraft.
Mhm.
Came to America, it became bastardized by authors who took the name for themselves or whatever. Like mainly Scott Cunningham, who wrote a book, Wicca for Solitary Practitioner, and so Wicca became this thing that is. There are messages in here.
Yeah,
I call
my
science medical.
goodness. So yeah,
Hey,
there's
um, so it became completely bastardized by authors who were publishing material, to be honest with you. And so it eventually broke off into two schools: the initiated and the uninitiated. So you had the people who were uninitiated saying that they were Wiccan, and what they meant was we're praying to crystals in our basement, and that's witchcraft. We're sprinkling herbs onto a candle and we're praying to some obscure idea of the goddess that we read in the book. To me, that's what Wicca is, and it's an entry point, and I don't want to belittle it too much because it is an entry point. People can learn just enough to find themselves to the next point. It teaches simple things like the four directions, casting a circle, the polarity of male and female, stuff like that. Those are really basic ideas. But once you reach a certain point in that, the whole Wicca was created, the public expression of Wicca was created. Gerald Garner and in some parts Aleister Crowley, because since they spoke a lot, and a lot of modern day Wicca has a lot to do with ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn, OTO type of stuff. Uh, and there are writings of them having conversations about what the public expression of Wicca would be. But for people who are initiated, either Gardnerian or Alexandrian, which the people who are initiated, Alexandrian or Gardnerian, believe that those are the only two real forms of witchcraft in America.
Mhm.
Um, Lots of other offshoots, and of course, you could talk to 100 people, and 100 people who identify say, "Oh, that's elitist" or whatever. I don't believe it's elitist. I believe it's historical, based on how the tradition, how word itself and the tradition evolved within America. So Alexandrian and Gardnerian would be associated with Wicca historically, but now we use the word Wicca, we're not talking about the same thing. You know,
Okay.
someone who's saying the word, someone who's using specific words, Alexandrian or Gardnerian, are talking about initiated and uninitiated.
So were you born and raised in New Orleans, or you were born somewhere else?
I was born in Washington, D.C. My family's from South Carolina. And so, no, I
Ooh,
was not born and raised.
Carolina's got some roots now. You
You
got
said
some,
what?
Carolina got some roots with it too. You know, got a lot of history of magic and
Yeah.
spells and good powerful ancestors in that soil. So that's good.
Yes. So when the islands of South Carolina, where the Gullah Geechee people came in to the states, they had minimal oversight as far as overseers, and so they were able to maintain some of their West African faith systems a little more better than arrived in plantations in like Virginia or the northern areas. So we see. Generations of the Gullah Geechee and Sea Island people coming inland, and that's where my family comes from, and so I believe that's what's in my blood and
Ooh.
where I get. So my grandmother moved my family up to from South Carolina to New York, and then to the Maryland Virginia area, and I decided to move to Louisiana to continue my study and practice.
So you have some Geechee blood in you. I have an ex who was one. I tell you, he was off the hook. He was.
Can't tell you that
Woo.
I am on the hook. You know, what I'm saying? Perhaps I'm off the hook too. I don't know. I have no idea.
He was a lot. He was a lot. Um, so how did Crescent City Conjure come about? I mean, you moved to New Orleans to continue your education and everything and your journey. So, okay, so let me just, before I even get to how Crescent City Conjure came about. Okay, so you moved to New Orleans, right? The home of Marie and all this other history of voodoo and hoodoo and all of this. So what happened when you got there? Because I know you must have met a whole bunch of people on this journey. You
Well,
look.
let's start with what happened in DC. So,
Okay,
um,
we go to DC.
of us have
Okay,
nine,
we got some
right?
geek chip in here too.
Yes, most of us have 9 to 5s, right? And so, like, most of us don't dedicate 100% of our time to this. It's not our job. We have a job, and then we have our practice. And some of us have clients, some of us don't. Some of us is for our family and friends, and that's it.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, I've been doing this since I was a little boy, and that's how it's supposed to go. When a hoodoo is born in a family, that's how it's supposed to go. The community knows that something's weird about that little guy. He be knowing stuff. And so eventually word passes, word of mouth, and perhaps you'll have clients, people who are coming to you for readings, potential workings. And so that was my life, right? I was a real estate agent. And when I wasn't a real estate agent, I was performing readings and creating oils and baths and washes and candles for people. So I had maybe 5 clients or whatever, but that was just word of mouth. People knew what I did. And so, it got to the point where I had a back stock of like candles, oils, baths, and stuff like that. And there were moments when I would go to other botanicas and go to other shops and pick up stuff, especially when I didn't have time to. Who wanted to plan a whole ritual and then have to make the candles and incense and oils and all that every single time? So that contributed to having a back stock, but also it helps me to compare my results or my experience with other people's stuff and what I was doing. And so I started to get a little more critical of other people's things, wanting to ask them, what's in, because I was becoming more focused on what's in my products. What are exact notes? How is this working? What are the rituals I performed over these ingredients to make them work? And so I started to ask these of other people, not in a disrespectful way, but the same way I was exploring it with myself, I wanted to explore it with them. And what I got
But
back
you
was
ain't get
no
no
one really.
answers, really. Some people couldn't even
They
answer
didn't
that.
know. They had no idea. They weren't selling it from the heart. They were selling it from India. They were selling it from some wholesaler. They didn't know what the hell was in it. And I say to myself, um, for people who are so concerned with the hour of the day, planetary hours, the day of the week, things are done from moon phase, astrological events, holidays with deity, using the proper edification of these deities. They weren't paying enough attention to what's in the damn incense that we're burning, or the candle that we're burning, or the other influences that go into the work that we're practicing. And so that was an extremely significant aspect of things for me. So fast forward, I decided to move to New Orleans. Spirit says it's time to go, and you're going to New Orleans. So I said, all right, pack my stuff up, and it wasn't exactly that. It wasn't like, all right. There was a lot of resistance actually, but I got to New Orleans, and my human mind said, all right, well, I'm here to practice real estate, and I start going towards my real estate license, which takes about 3 months to pass all the tests and to affiliate with all the associations you have to be affiliated with. And I continue to do my thing, on the back end. I continue to practice root work. I continue to be a root worker, that's kind of how I've always done it. But something switches. Like I said, it takes 3 months to get your real estate license. In that time, the interest in what I was doing on the back end went like a rocket. And it took off to the point where, and that's my real passion. That's what I love to do. I have always done. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't believe that that this looks like something I can devote my entire time to. This looks like something really share with the world. This looks like I think they sent me here to do this full time. It was without effort on my part in the beginning. It wasn't. I wasn't marketing. I wasn't nothing. It was just word of mouth caught fire, and so I started providing things for people, and eventually I said, I don't have time to practice real estate. I don't have time to do anything else but this, and this will always be my priority. This will always be first. And so fast forward, Crescent City Conjure, and here we are.
Wow. And then to top it off with the real estate license, well, what you did you do, you finished the real estate and you were doing
No,
that?
I didn't have once I didn't complete the license.
Wow,
There
because
was
you
no,
couldn't even have a chance to complete it because everything took
no
off.
everything took off. At the time when I could have completed it, it was equal, right? Like my desire to where I would start off with real estate and where everything was with Crescent City Conjure was equal, and so there was a choice. So I can choose to do this, or I can choose to do that. And of course, like I said, my spiritual practice always takes priority, and my desire to share this information with the world and to communicate with other people about what they're, how. Yeah, I thank my. I'm sorry in the messages. I thank my ancestors for that 1,000%. I learned something extremely valuable about how my ancestors communicate with me. Now, and I'm continuing to learn it. What I'll say is that I have extremely vivid and sometimes prophetic dreams, and I receive almost crazy direct messages from my ancestors to where they will sit down in a chair and be in a chair in front of me and look me in my eyes. 5 years old and explain stuff to me like I'm an idiot, and, and I'll have to be like, okay, I got it. And
Wow.
if I have the courage to listen, and it's wild stuff. Like I was in DC, right? They said pack up all your stuff and move to a place. And so if I listen, if I have the courage to listen, the faith to listen, then then other incredible things match. They'll meet me halfway. If I have the courage to make the essay, if I have the courage to get up and actually go, then I think yes, I would give my ancestors all credit. I give myself credit too because that was scary. That was terrifying to make that move. So I think it's a give and take, right? Like we give faith, respect, and remembrance to our ancestors, and they give us blessings and they open up doors and they make a way out of nowhere.
That is badass. Because so often people, your ancestors and your intuition kick in and all of that tell you to move and it's time to go. And a lot of people ignore that. They ignore it. And that eventually opportunities, the doors close because you didn't listen. So congratulations to you for listening because you went there and it took off.
Well, when people use words like powerful,
Mhm.
a conjurman, they're not saying that you can summon vast spirits across, great lands of the cemetery. They're talking about faith. How well do you listen? How well do you follow through? Really, that's what they're talking about. I give the credit to my ancestors, and all I'm doing is, at the time that I moved, I was working on submitting. I was working on submission, to when I the message, follow it. Whatever it is, follow it. No matter how crazy it is, follow it. And so, right before the message of moving, it was increasingly, the more I was having more conversations with my ancestors about me submitting and being a good, I say being a good offspring, being good.
Yeah.
Um, you uh, the messages were becoming more detailed and more intense. And because the conversation I was having was, I will submit whatever what you tell me. I now trust. I now have faith and trust that you have a better perspective than I do. And so, hands up on this ride. Wherever you take me, I'm going. And they were like, "Oh, bet." Wherever we take you, you going? And I said, yeah. And they said, okay, well, we going to New Orleans. And to me, that was the top of the mountain as far as where I was at that time. And so I said, if I've been saying this, this is a conversation we've been having, and now this is the test. This is the major test. And so uh, I said, if I'm truly a good student, truly a good, and if I am truly ready, and if I have truly submitted, then I'll do this. And in doing it, um, so many experiences, so many experiences. There was this, um, in the shop, in Crescent City Conjure, the shop that we have now. Um, I looked for a good year for a good location for the shop, and I ran across places, and nothing was satisfying to me. Nothing was good. um, because I could be very anal that way. I could be very like, let me get my white glove and see if there's any dust here, and if there is, we're not moving in there. Um,
Oh no.
yeah, and
It's
so
okay. I'm like that too. Somebody has a thing that they're saying, I have a gift. I'm not quite sure what it is. People are drawn to me, but I feel drained after interacting with a lot of people.
yeah, you have a gift. I don't necessarily like the word empathy or being an empath, because I think that there's so many different variations of what's happening when you communicate with people. With empathy, that being an empath means you're connecting with someone's emotions. It's not usually someone's emotions that you're connecting with. It could be a whole litany of other things. It could be their energetic signature, which may feel like an, it's not really important to know, because there are other, as you continue to understand that gift and how it's structured, there are other
Mhm,
people puzzle that don't fit into an emotional state of being. For instance, if you start incorporating a reading tool with that, which you very much could, something that you could carry with you. It could be something extremely simple. It could be a pair of bones, because I've actually seen someone do this, or it could be 4 cowrie shells, which is a simple OB reading. Shake those up and do a quick reading there. But you're going to have to quantify that information based on the spiritual information that you're receiving. And so the tool is just a structural point. If the shells fall too up down, which is going to be a perfect yes, you're going to have to take the information you're receiving from spirit and put it in the structure of that yes. It's not the
mhm.
opposite. You're not saying yes and then applying that to spirit. Spirit is telling you, um, all this crazy stuff that you're receiving, these visions and these feel like emotions and all these other energetic signatures are fitting into the structure of the answer, yes. And so I think we need to get our minds out of I connect to people's emotions as an empath, and start looking at it a little more critically. Yourself, what am I connecting to, instead of making the assumption that it's just emotions. Second, you really need to be protecting yourself. I always say you need 3 protection charms on you. If people are draining you, that means that you are not protecting yourself. You need to keep your head. Whenever you're out and about with other people, if you are that sensitive to where you are getting energy drained, you keep your head covered. So spirit lives in your duda oblongata, right? Like right here at the base, at the beginning of your spine, the bottom of your brain, right? And so we keep this area covered because that's where spirit can connect. If you're in a ritual like a fet, a voodoo fet, or a bembe, or something like that, when people get possessed or ridden like horses, that's where spirit comes in. You need to cover the top of your head with a hat, or I don't really like head wraps like that, and to each their own. I appreciate what other people do. It's not my swag. And so I put hats on. It's the same idea. I'm just trying to cover my head. And so I usually so I'm scratched Palo Mayombe, so I have these huge scratches on my chest. And I say that because they're powerful protection. I always have at least 3 forms of protection on me. You'll usually see me with some type of bracelet or something like that. That's protection. I mean, I have my hand every 5 bracelet.
Yeah.
That's protection. And so, yes,
On me, yeah.
when I say to have at least 3 forms of protection on you, I'm saying you want to hit it in like 3 different ways. I usually have a pretty heavy necklace on underneath my shirt. You always want to have at least 1 form of protection hidden as well, because there are people like me, and I've seen plenty of people in New Orleans do it too, where if you know where protection is, you can still hit it. It's not a very effective protection if you can see it. Some forms of protection are just to say, hey, I'm protected. Won't. And then some forms of protection are, just in case anyone does, they're a little less aggressive. But when you're in a community of people who do this, and we're all saturated with workers, you kind of also want to get a message, like, hey, I'm not the one. So, but for someone like the woman or the person who was
You're right.
that message, you never know how people identify these days. So I'm hands up on that one. But when you're out and about feeling drained, yes, it is an energetic exchange. What you're doing is a reading. When you're picking up on something, what you're performing is a reading. Readings do drain a portion of spirit speaking through you. You need to protect yourself so that, first off, I could talk about this all, so just let me know when to stop. But one thing that my grandmother told me that is extremely valuable, that is still probably the biggest and greatest lesson until this day, is because when I was a kid, I was a high vibrating channel. Like stuff was just coming out, like, and it was all accurate. It was all, it's just performing readings randomly. And one of the things, and since she has it too, what she told me was it's okay to know things, but you don't got to tell everybody everything. Baby, if you are out and about and you know things about people, whatever, that spirit is giving you messages for you, not for them all the time. The messages you're receiving are for you, not for them. Just because you're receiving messages doesn't mean you're supposed to share them. That gives you insight so you can move different, not necessarily to give it to them. There
Okay.
needs type of exchange. All right. If you are going to give them that message, they need to give you something too. Otherwise, you will feel drained. I had this woman who called me probably a year ago. We're still in contact or whatever. She was in the hospital. Called me from the hospital, and she said, weirdest call ever. First off, how'd you get my number? Secondly, like, are you in calling me from the hospital? What's going on? Don't you need to be talking to a doctor? And she said, I perform readings all the time. She's an extremely giving and open individual, and so she's straight up just reading people, giving readings. And I'm like, why are you giving readings so freely? And she said, someone told me I'm not supposed to charge for it. Don't be listening to these people on these streets. I'm telling you, don't be listening to these people on the streets, because that's a school of thought too, where people are like, oh, it's from the heart, you shouldn't charge for it. You finna break all the way down. And the people who say that probably don't actually have a gift, because the gift is taxing. If it's real, it's taxing. And so
Yes,
if
I agree.
there's no exchange, it will break you down. And I tell people, and I tell the readers at the shop, your gift is valuable. Your gift is incredibly valuable. To have any shadow of what's going to come next and be to any kind of accurate about it, that's something that people should be paying for. And so, and also it's a necessary energetic exchange that needs to happen so that you don't feel tired and exhausted all the time.
Oh, he said a mouthful right there. That was deep.
Well,
Okay.
right
Oh, wee.
out in these streets. Otherwise, they're going to try you. You know what I'm saying? We don't get tried. No.
That is deep. I never knew that if like because I keep all my jewelry and stuff hidden. So today I decided to go goth. So I had this on, but usually I keep my other stones and stuff hidden away. So it's never seen. But I was like, as soon as you start talking, I was like, oh shoot, I had completely forgotten. I was like, dang. But to know that if people can actually see it, then they could actually hit it. That is something I never knew.
It
Honestly.
really what type of environment you're in. If you're, the thing is that I've learned you never know who's who. You could think that no one around you practices, but the best of us, you wouldn't know. I mean, when I was in DC, no one knew. But trust me, if I didn't like my coworker, they were probably gone next week. And so, like, you never really know. And
Oh
so you
no, I knew because I felt it around my. Whenever somebody would try to do something to me, I would feel it immediately around my neck, and it almost felt like I think most people. I don't know if it's just me but I think some people do have it where they could actually feel it on them. So
I,
for me, it was always around my neck, and it always felt like somebody was choking me, or I just felt the energy around my neck, like was trying to put a shackle around my neck, invisible shackle. So then I know immediately, oh, somebody's doing it again. And in my line of work, I was in different types of things. I would always 90 something percent of people around me, the ladies, were doing some roots.
especially if you do anything public the way that you do, people will. Oh, it's not living your life. People will, you know, yeah, they can pause the video. Like, let's just be honest, they can pause the video out. And so we have to be extremely vigilant about our protection and cleansing in order to live healthy, balanced lives. We must walk our talk. Otherwise, stuff can go down. You know.
Yeah, that's why I wanted him on here because he know what he talking about. He has been at WitchCon. He has over, I don't know, 30,000 people following him on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He is everywhere. He is an expert in, he's been doing this since he's young. So of course I want somebody who knows what they're talking about and ain't just talking out their butt. Yes, he know what he talking about. And I'm telling you, just hearing him talk, I'm just literally in awe. Like, I don't even want to talk. I just want to hear him talk.
I love this, and I love everyone who does this. I think that we're really special people, and I hate seeing people being lost on their path and confused about what's going on. And I've put myself in very intense situations for knowledge,
Mhm.
and I continue to do that. Fear is not going to. I want to keep crossing those doorways of fear and gain more knowledge of what is going on, not just with me, but because we're all in this together, and this is I don't think something that people see from my perspective at the shop with people coming in. We're talking about the same things, and those things change almost simultaneously
Mm.
with each other. There's something that's over us that is guiding us together. And so that's what I'm interested in. What is that thing that's guiding us together? Our ancestors for sure. Our ancestors for the continuation. That's the continuation of a fight, of a success story. But and we often talk about ancestors individually. My ancestors told me this, but really our ancestors are working together the same way we are working together, people to cause lasting change here in America.
Wow. So, what was the first product that you created that that you put that Crescent City Conjure label on? What was the
Can
first thing?
Candles. So I had already gotten I already had the oils, the incenses, and all of that. Those I don't those weren't easy, but they were the easier things to approach. But candles were the harder thing. Like I really wanted to understand like the wax and the color and the scent and how would a recipe mesh with all of that? How would a recipe be effective if I was to have it in the candle? And so that's what I experimented with first. It was soy and paraffin blend at first, which made these really pretty patterns because I did want there to be a visual aspect of it
Yeah.
because, you know, old school ain't very visual. Old school is like you get what you get. It works. So boom, there you go. But if you're going to do well, then you gotta kind of like, I like the artistic aspect of it. And so I for the first thing that I did was a line of candles, love, money, luck, cursing, all the I had I think five different kind of candles, um, and I think I posted them, and one of the shops in
Mhm.
New Orleans said, "Oh, we want to carry those candles." And so my original investment in the wax and the oil and in the dye and all that paid off almost immediately. And of course, I re back into it and continued to make stuff. And so the first thing that was uh, fun fact: the original name of Crescent City Conjure before it was trademarked was Conjure Crossroads, and that was the first. That was the first label that was put on those first candles. Conjure Crossroads. I still have the original label design, and it still has the Crescent City Conjure symbol, but Conjure Crossroads was already trademarked. And so, and I didn't after taking the time to see that the name Crescent City Conjure, and I was in the Crescent City, so it makes sense.
Mhm. So you got a question here. Where do you practice? New Orleans, y'all. I drive trucks with my husband. We get a load to your city. We need a reading and some products.
You
Okay.
said where do I practice? Everywhere. You could catch me in the woods. You could catch me by the river. You could catch me in the cemetery. Actually, you can't catch me. You better not try to catch me in the cemetery. You can catch me at the shop. You can catch me at there. There are several temple spaces in New Orleans. So I have a temple space in my home. I have a temple space at the Covenstead. I have a temple space in the Munanso. So I'm traveling to Chicago, about to travel to Atlanta, where
Okay.
where, where there are other Monassos and temples that I'll go visit and practice at clients' houses if they needed and perform workings at their space. So it can be sometimes hard to catch up with, but if something I do my best to be there for them.
Which this is good because there's a lot of watchers that are in Chi Town, so that's great.
Yeah.
Well, plenty of people are here from Chi Town, New Orleans, Louisiana, all over. Some from Germany, all over that will tune in. So
Yeah.
that's good. And we need a reading and some products.
Well, holla at your boy. I mean, so you can always call the shop. If you really need something, and the shop number is 504-421-3189. You can always call the shop. We got people who are very well trained there, Miss Raina and Jason, who can walk you through. So um, we got to be specific about what a hoodoo root work and conjure shop is, because people will often say, "Is this a botanica?" And I'm like, no, not really, not by definition, not by my experience of what botanicas are. And they're like, "Is this a witch shop?" And I'm like, no, not really, based on what my experience of witch shops are. Is it a metaphysical shop? No. And so, what is it? It is specifically a hoodoo root work and conjure shop. What makes a shop specifically hoodoo root work and conjure? You got to get root of the issue. The big mission is to get to the root of the issue, and so you can go into a botanica, and if you're familiar with like botanicas at all, you just go. It's really you get base. You get your naked candles, you get your naked waters, you load some herbs into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like base material for your own stuff. And so you kind of have to know what you're doing already to go into a botanica and get something that's actually effective, to put together something that's actually effective. Although you can put, what's great about botanica is you always get the chisme there. You always get the gossip of the community in a botanica. Go to botanica and you know what Ugan, have a deal over there, you know, what this who cursed who, you know what I'm saying?
It's true. And who husband left, but now the woman is doing some root work to get him back. All of that. You hear everything.
Baby, you go there for the cheeseman, for the gossip, and you might pick up a pack of candles while you there. Some more incense. Let me go talk to her over there. So, yeah, but that's botanica style. And then there's the witch shop. You got these shops or to specifically towards witchcraft, and you can get your crystals and all that stuff. The gossip there. That's more for the new kids, for the new age, who are kind of
no gossip. They don't do gossiping.
They don't do gossip. Nah,
nothing.
And so they you know they kind of cater to the single bowl community. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that's where you're probably going to get them from. And so and then there's the people who want to they want to practice, they don't know where to begin. And so they're point store, if you ask me. And then you got your metaphysics shops that are going to focus on the crystals, the singing bowls, the meditation stuff. And I'm not saying, and we all work together. We still all work together to a degree, you know. We're all going to, like, if the botanica doesn't have a certain herb that someone uses, I'll send them to the witch shop to get the herb if they have the herb. If someone's at the botanica and they're looking for a book on witchcraft, then of course, like, there's probably no books on witchcraft. And if it is, it's probably like Brazilian witchcraft, which is probably not what you think witchcraft is. And then, you know, send them there. And so we all know where each other are to work together to help people out. But in a hoodoo shop, when you call, and I'm telling you this because I gave you the number of the shop, when you call, we spend extra time getting to the root of the issue, what's really going on. At a hoodoo shop, you don't pick what we recommend. And so it's like going to a doctor's office. You start off with, we say, okay, this is what's happening, and then after we say this is what's happening, you go back and the person says, okay, what was the what was recommended? Oh, well, it's a this issue or that issue. Okay, well, you're going to need this and this and this to be the solution of medicine for your problem. And that's how it goes at a hoodoo shop. You don't go. You can. You know, people can come into the shop and pick whatever they want, and then like people who are very knowledgeable in their practice, they might not need any. They're like, boom, I'm getting this, and this, and I'm good, and that's fine. But usually, if you call, you're going to be guided into what you need to. Because, you know, why else are you here if you're looking for help? We don't expect you to, like, figure it out yourself.
Right. So Jasmine asks, can he read dreams?
I don't read dreams because dreams are extremely personal to each individual. There's no dream book. There's no dream index. Yeah, I could you could share a dream with me, and the best I could do is give you my interpretation. I'll tell you, baby, that's the best anyone can do. Because that dream, the way you read dreams is for you to have a dream for the space of years, write down symbols and themes so you can figure out what they mean for you, and those are going to mean something different for everyone. So there is no way to read a dream unless you're going to, yeah, you can do a reading, talk to your ancestors about it, sure, but that's a reading about something that happened. I could do with anything. So that's not necessarily reading a dream. Yeah, you could, if you want to get a reading about a dream, sure, but just to read a dream, not so much. And I wouldn't really trust someone who puts it in the context of just reading a dream, because those vary from person to person. Like every single person, a wheel means something different for every single person. There is the overarching archetype of a wheel, but that archetype, it connects to different experiences for each and every person's life. So it's very difficult to come up with any consistent reading style.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. So you're self-taught.
No, I've had
Another misconception here. Okay.
so many masters. It's ridiculous. I'm naturally born with this, but that's like saying I'm a natural. I'm natural at anything. You know, so you go on training if you're going to be great at it. You can't just, in my opinion, sure you can be. People think that being born with it is enough, and that's all I need. If that's all you want, sure. If that's all you, if that's as far as you want to go down this rabbit hole, then fine. But if you want to go further down the rabbit hole, you need someone to grab your hand and lead you down the path. You know, I've had, when I say I'm initiated, that means I have elders. I have everything that I do. I have high priest elders. I have tatas. I have iyas and people who to you know, I always say never trust a priest without a because they don't have anyone to be accountable to. You know, like I believe in accountability. If I do something messed up to a client, that client should be able to go to my tata, my high priest, my babalao, and say, well this happened. You know, and so it to me it's only ego to say I don't get lost on the path. It's only ego for me to know I know everything. I don't know everything, you know. And as I continue to grow, there's going to be things I experience that are new to me, and I need to be able to talk to my elders about that because they know they've been there. And so, for me to be as I can be, must sometimes lean and rely on my elders.
Thank you. Because so often some people come on here and they say they're self-taught and they didn't have anybody to help them. It was just spirit in them that did this, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but it's okay to have mentors along the way because there's always going to be somebody that knows a little bit more than you, and ain't nothing wrong with getting that knowledge from them.
To me, it's not even a choice. To me, it's not even a choice. To me, and I'm just talking about me, it's not even a choice. It's this the world of spirit is filled with things that can suck your life away. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you think you know everything about that? You know what I'm saying? You think you know all the protection mechanisms, all the cleansing recipes, all of the various spirits and intelligences that could potentially do something to you or a client? That's impossible. You need a community around you. Like even with my elders, like it's supposed to be a community. I have people who are above me, my elders, and then I have people who, and when I say under me, I don't mean better or worse. I mean we all have a range of experience. Sometimes the information that I need is from someone who's under me, and sometimes the information that I need is for someone who's above me. We all work together. We're just talking about different time put in the game. You know what I'm saying? Different time put into this, different things that we've experienced. Further down the road, sometimes the advice you need is from someone who has a fresher perspective than yours, than someone who has a longer perspective than yours. It's a community. It has always been a community. We have never stood alone. And you can never really understand, in my opinion, you can never really understand what's truly going on if you don't have different pieces moving together. If it's just you, you're in a room by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sure, you may have a spirit or two whispering in your ear, but that's not the.
Nope, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The point is that the same way we have our communities of people, the younger people help the older people. You know, someone can cook, someone knows how to cook, someone knows how to dance, someone plays music, and we get together, we have a party where there's food, there's dance, and there's music. But ain't one person doing all those things. Not one person's doing all those things. It's just like spirit. One spirit can dance, one spirit can cook, one spirit can sing. And we're together, we get stuff done. When we're by ourselves, it is impossible. It's just impossible. know what I'm saying? And as much as people want to make the argument that, well, I'm self-taught and I do this by myself, then fine. You know, if you can cook, then all you ever going to have is food, but I wouldn't call that a party. so, so I'm just saying we've always done this together.
I like the way you put it. That was interesting. I noticed you brought up one of the out there names of all time, Aleister Crowley. Ooh. Was he a genius or a madman?
The fact that we're talking about him right now means he was absolutely both a genius and a madman. So in a lot of circles, and let's be clear, because we're talking about several things. We're talking about African traditional spirituality and Western, and so I just want to be clear that the same they world, but not in the same house. And so when we're speaking about Aleister Crowley, we're speaking specifically about his influence on Western occultism. We call him, in contexts, you'll often hear him refer to Uncle Al. He's had such a wide influence on Western occultism that the respect, and it's funny because you said Uncle Al, right? So we're respecting him as with the word uncle, and then shortening his name to Al to say Uncle Crazy. He's uncle, but he's crazy. And so Aleister Crowley did so much. What I think is really interesting about Aleister Crowley's work is that whenever you read any of his writings, and I've talked to people in the OTO, you know, his organization that's still going. He still has outposts here, and
really, wow.
He's that influential, right? And so. And they'll tell you, like, you're not supposed to, at least I've heard once, I won't say it's something that I won't speak on their behalf because I don't have authority to, but I've heard that you're not supposed to read his material verbatim. And I got to tell you, old school workers, man, they put things in there to weed the wheat out. Meaning, like, you look at the if you look at the Picatrix, right, they're suffumigations or magical incense, and in some of the recipes are extremely poisonous things that if you burn them you'll die. And so if you don't take the time to read it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, girl, it's gonna be cute, you finna pass away. Like, you gotta know what you're doing and why. And that's
wow. You mean it's like booby trapped for the week? Wow. Okay. That's deep.
People who to learn and understand what they're doing and just want to dabble, the old school didn't tolerate. So, and I'll say it's similar with Aleister Crowley's work, where he put a lot of misinformation amongst the correct information, and so it's kind of like a puzzle. And then let's talk about Aleister Crowley later in life, because earlier in his life, Aleister Crowley came from a wealthy aristocratic family. He was able to travel around the world and go to places like Egypt. Aleister Crowley. And one of the things that he said was, you know, any magician worth salt will make their way through New Orleans. That's how special of a place New Orleans is. It's absolutely a vortex that will expand your understanding of spirituality. So he was extremely prolific at one point, and his work was a little more comprehensible. He communicated with a lot of extremely influential characters within the Western occult world at the time. Later on in his life, he became addicted to drugs, but we see the use of several traditions like ayahuasca and peyote, if you were talking about Native American traditions. And so he did take that route as one of the pathways of magic. He took that route. The problem is that it became a crutch and not a tool. And he went down the deep end with it. And his writings reflected the craziness of his mind concerning it. So we see several Aleister Crowleys throughout history. It got to the point where he was he was called the most evil man alive, the beast, and all this other stuff. And I think, what an honor! Shoot, I hope to at least get a title that strong before I go. God damn! I mean, we still talking about the man. So Uncle Al, right? You approach his work with scalpel, because you're gonna have to take some things apart and then put them back together if you want to take advantage of any of his knowledge.
But it's totally opposite from hoodoo. There's no similarities between the two. Was that ever something you even that you practiced or looked into at one point, or it was like, no, hoodoo is just for me, and that's my lane, and that's where I'm happy at.
Oh, I know what I'm good at. I know what I do. I know who I am. And that's really it. I know what spirits I work with. I know who I'm talking to when I speak, and I know what led me. I know what to do. And that's squarely hoodoo. That's squarely hoodoo for me. Along my path, I have run into a whole lot of other things. I've,
Hmm,
and I've
this is the way you said it.
and I've tried to understand it as a wider philosophy. So, yeah, hoodoo is extremely different than what we're talking about with especially jumping off the topic of Aleister occultism. But those two things did exist simultaneously, in a space. And so we talk about the wealthy and the prominent people who had the tools to buy had the resources to buy tools that are used in Western. And then we have the rural people who kind of, in a way, lived in two different worlds, but also lived in those two different worlds simultaneously. And so they were observing the same world from two very different perspectives. And I like to Western occultism looked up to the stars and astrology, astronomy, and the rural people looked down to the powers of the roots and the herbs and the dirts and the bones and the stones and the minerals. And so that's where we get our folk magic from, opposed to Western occultism, which is much more ceremonial.
Oh, so do you still teach your class? Do you still teach classes, or is it more the people that you have there at Crescent City, teaches a class because you do a little bit more traveling now?
I stay teaching. I feel like I'm always teaching 24/7, but
Always teaching. What you talking about, woman?
thought. But I get what people are saying, like in the context of like a more official class setting. Yes, I'm for classes on Crossroads Academy. Um, from I'm releasing more classes on Crossroads Academy, which is our online school, which is hosted by Crowdcast. I got a Greek class coming up. It's on there already. I haven't promoted it at all because it's 30 days out. I'm still writing the class, but you can go on there and see when it's scheduled to be released. Other than that, like I do guest appearances at shops, and I have classes at the shop. I mean, people come to the shop, answer questions. Lilith Lilith Dorsey is releasing has released a book. I think it's on pre-order, and it's called Voodoo. I believe it's Afro Voodoo, and I did it for that. And so there's always this. Once again, we're a community, and so we're always teaching together, and we're always supporting each other in that way. Um, so yeah, look forward to if people are talking about classes. Yeah, look forward to Crossroads Academy releasing more online classes. I think maybe now it's time to start doing classes in person again. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if there's a need to do person again with how ready people are for online classes. So yes, the answer is yes. I still do classes,
Mhm.
not as much, but I still do classes.
Do you have any books out?
I've only written one book, and that's Crescent City Conjure Comprehensive Guide. But that's a self-published book. I'm working on a book to be published by a major publishing company right now.
Okay. So, but that one's still available, circulating around on Amazon or somewhere
Yes.
available. Okay, so good. I'm going to need the link for that so I can put in the description so they can get the one that you self-published and buy that. And you have another one coming out. So I want, whatever, whatever classes you got going on, I'm going to make sure I put their address for Crescent City with the phone number in there. And they need to check out Crescent City Conjure YouTube channel because it's a lot of subscribers on there, and he makes videos on breaking down what hoodoo is, what voodoo is, what the difference is. You know, there's a lot of things on there, so definitely check out. each one of the videos because you can learn a lot. You can
You
learn a
could.
lot. Yeah. And then that helps you with buying the products that you want. Check out the website because I was falling in love with them oils and everything on there. I was like, oh Lord Jesus, let me get off of here real quick. Because I'm like, I saw my cart filling up. I was like, hold up. Wait a minute. You're gonna be broke. I had have like 5 candles in there, 3, 4 oils. I was like, oh Lord.
Well, thank you so much, Goddess Raven. This has been incredible. I appreciate you having the opportunity to talk to you and everyone who's listening. I hope that they got something from it, and thank everyone who commented too because you were part of the conversation.
Okay, so yes, I've been following him for a while now. So they up on you. There's some people
Hey,
that feel like they is really up on you. Yeah.
hey.
I didn't I'm like my best friend should have schooled me. My best friend, I was like, I looked on the Facebook thing. I'm like, oh, you followed him for years. I was like, you ain't tell me you knew it. You was following this man. Oh, and the conjure. She's like, yeah, I bought a couple oils from him. I was like, wow, you ain't tell me. She's like, you ain't asked. Ain't I'm not supposed to be walking around telling you what oils I buy. I was like, oh, you got a point. But yeah, she has bought a couple of your oils already. I was like, oh my.
We have been blessed to be able to touch so many people. Like I said, from what felt like the moment that I moved to New Orleans, it's just been like this. And I got to tell you, like it hasn't stopped. Like I really have ancestors because even with the pandemic, with that spot of being really unsure about having a small business,
Mhm.
like they carried us through. They carried us through. I tell you, my hands are still up on this ride. I don't think I'm responsible or in control of how many people the business has touched at all. I think I'm supposed to be doing what I was meant to do, which is listen to them and follow through. But I don't think that it's me. I believe it's all them, and I'm touching a lot of people, and I'm happy that to be a part of it. I'm happy to be a part of it. I thank everybody for supporting the business, but I don't believe the business belongs to me. It belongs to spirit.
I love the fact that you have so many different other people in this shop that are knowledgeable, that can help. Because I was watching different clips and I saw ladies, men, different doing different works inside the shop, and I was like, oh wow, this is really like a community. I'm like, okay.
It is a community, yes. Mhm. And we love each other and we watch over each other. You know what I'm saying?
I'm in
And
New Orleans. Okay, pull up. You need to pull up and go in the shop and get some oils, get some books, get some candles, get that prosperity up. Right now it's all about open roads and, everything. Get all that. New moon just passed. It's all about right now bringing in what you want. So, yeah, go on in there and pick up some stuff. Yeah.
yeah, we like to talk to people. So it's not when you come in, it's not just come in and wander around and maybe you'll see something, maybe you won't. Talk to us. We'll talk back. And and hopefully lead you to whatever you may be looking for.
Definitely, yes. I just subscribed. Good. Check out his channel because I really enjoyed it. I stayed up. I really was supposed to be taking my butt to bed, but I watched about several of his videos on there, and I'm like sitting there like, I need to take notes. I need to do this. Very informative,
Right,
very connecting. Like, it wasn't boring. I was sitting there like the whole time, like, oh my God. Like really, like some people are born with it, and you just like, look, I can't. I know you got some details, and what you're telling me is important, but I couldn't get into it. You are able
right
to
now
get into.
is a tarot series. I want to talk about divination, and I have a whole tarot class on Thinkific, which is hours and hours long. But I find myself having to repeat this tarot class over and over and over and over again. So I said I'm going to release it on. I'm going to do something like that on YouTube. It's a much smaller, succinct uh, introduction to tarot, and it's kind of like very raw, which I wanted to keep it raw. So those who are subscribing, if you are interested in divination, divination is a good place to start, along with your ancestor altar, so that you can connect to that internal voice and communicate with spirit on a more one. one-on-one conversational basis. And now I have to actually release the videos at least once a week. Don't always have the time. Really, YouTube is YouTube. I'm just doing whatever spirit is telling me to do. I'm not really following a formula. I'm not a YouTuber. It's really just like, okay, let's talk about this and put it up there. And I really do hope that there's a lot of information on it. It's a beginning step. It's a doorway for people to possibly learn more.
It is really, honestly and truthfully, it's way more information that I thought anybody would put out. Seriously, very detailed. And you talk about the candle dressing, you talk about hoodoo, you break down hoodoo versus what, voodoo, what's the difference and what you practice and the fundamentals of everything. And, I thought it was one user like the devil's shoestring, and you had the red string wrap and everything and carrying it. So you really go into a lot of details of everything that I was really shocked to even find that you talk about. So y'all need to definitely check out, binge watch his channel. And if y'all can't make it to New Orleans, it's okay. Because he got a website, y'all. He got a website. So if you can't make it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put all that details in there. And tarot cards. Have you ever thought of coming up with with Crescent City Conjure's own tarot cards?
Several times have I, yes. I have spent a week on end designing them, just for the whole design to crash. And so, and for me to be like, well, not today. I have thought about doing it, and I do believe that's something that's going to get done in the breadth of my career, because it's something that's on my mind. It has been on my mind, but I just haven't had the time to do it. I'm focused on teaching, you know what I'm saying, and making products and running the business, and continuing to learn myself. That making the hasn't really been a priority. Really, right now, the priority is a book, and then the cards after the book, and then hopefully another book after the cards.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now while I'm doing this, I am loading up. Don't worry, that's my mod. So don't worry, I will be putting all the information in the description, his website, his address, the phone number, his YouTube channel. All of that is going to be going in there. Even the information for the one book that he did produce, I think it has a reddish orangey looking color cover to it. Even that is going to be in the descriptions, okay? So yes, YouTube, Crescent City Conjure is, yes, exactly. So yeah. Is there anything else? Because I know you was a busy man, so I don't want to take up no more time. But is there anything else that you want to say, in closing?
I always try to bring everything back to our ancestors. So let's say a little thanks to our ancestors. If everyone wants to just take a moment, take a deep breath in, slow exhale, bring yourself to the rhythm. Give our ancestors thanks, honor, respect, love, and remembrance for their blessings, their protection, their knowledge, their guidance, and their wisdom in our lives. And we ask that they see with our eyes, speak with our minds, work with our hands, and walk with our hands, that they guide us in all the things that we do, and they are ways of opportunity for us as we continue to learn and grow in this life.
Ooh. I don't know about you, but I just feel so relaxed. I really do. Thank you. Really, thank you so much. I mean, you are amazing. I mean, I'd never thought that you would answer so quickly back. Seriously, thank you. I appreciate you. I've learned so much. And y'all, show support. Check out his website, please. Go to his YouTube channel. If y'all in New Orleans or you taking a road trip, head up to his shop, have a conversation, pick up some oils, pick up some candles, because they're made with knowledge, love, and good intentions that's going to get you what you want. If but you got to focus now, y'all. Okay? That's it. Thank you, Ellis. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Now you take care.
Take care.
All right. Bye. Y'all, he is absolutely amazing. I don't know about you, but I just felt his energy come through. He is amazing, y'all. I am so happy that he took the time out of his busy schedule to answer a few questions. And y'all were so respectful. I'm so, I didn't know, I don't know. I'm like really speechless because his energy was just that amazing that honestly I didn't even want to talk. I didn't want to talk. The mod meeting, okay, y'all. Everybody in my DMs who is a mod, hit me up and put the word MOD in my DM. That's your mod, so I could send you the link and we could have the meeting. I'm gonna have if you want to have the meeting right after this, we can do so. Okay. Yes. I love this type of thinking, being, and living. Thank you. I'm glad that everybody enjoyed it. I'm glad that y'all tuned in. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to, like, the way I feel, like when he did he gave that little prayer in the end. I'm just ready to end it at this note. So, y'all, love you all. Okay. And I will be back up here. And we will be kikiing and talking about other things. But I'm ready to end it on this positive high and positive note, y'all. Bye, everybody. And mods, don't forget, make sure you put mod in the DM so I can hit you all up, and we could have I'll send you what is it, StreamYard link. Okay, so I will give me by probably by 1:30. I think I'll do about. I want to get it done now, so 1:30. Okay. Yes. Thanks for watching. Yes, Michaela. I love you all. Bye. And I'll be back and we will, kiki it out, Have a blissful day, everyone. Yes, indeed. Bye. Inner peace. Thank you for coming by. And on that note, I am out.